Hello and welcome to the FSF PopCast Live Edition. Well, hello kids and cadets. Welcome to the FSF PopCast Live Edition. This is our Wednesday live at 5. And we just want to come on and talk about the awesomeness that was episode 5 of Ahsoka last night. So producer John is joining me here today. So glad to have him. And
glad to be here.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun today because last night's episode was, fun. I really enjoyed last night's episode. I loved last night's episode. So, and I can't tell if you're freezing or if I'm freezing, but
that was weird.
You were menacingly staring at me for a moment and I got worried.
I'm still plugged in. So, okay, let's try this again. and now I can't see you. We're having
technical difficulties on the FSF PopCast.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm going to blame StreamYard. They're wonderful, but every once in a while, everything has a problem.
Everything, yeah. So what didn't have a problem for me last night was the world between worlds and the Ahsoka show. By the way, just as a reminder, we are, of course, talking. I forgot to do this last week as well. We are, of course, talking about Ahsoka. This is our live at 5, and this is your chance to know that there are spoilers for this week's episode. If you have not watched this week's episode 5 of the Ahsoka series running on Disney Plus, then this is your opportunity now to know that moving forward from here, we will be talking about everything that happened in last night's episode. So if you haven't watched and you don't care about spoilers, stick around. If you do care about spoilers, now is your time to jump out. Okay. So there we go. I did my due diligence.
Yes, you did. You were the responsible adult.
That should scare all of us. Okay, so there's a few things I want to talk about specifically about the world between worlds that we saw last night.
Okay.
And because I have some thoughts and I have some questions about it, I absolutely love this episode. Let's just get that right out on the table. I really love the story that Filoni wrote and directed with this, because this episode was pivotal as to what was going to happen in the rest of the series. And to me, this episode is Ahsoka's coming out party.
Okay.
We have Ahsoka the White. We had Ahsoka the Gray. I mean, it's a Lord of the Rings reference, but
right, yeah.
But even at the end of the episode, she's wearing all white instead of gray, showing that, I think that what she did is she found herself. She knows who she is now. She purged herself of the guilt that she had over Anakin, and she was able to move forward. And I think the change of clothing, even the change of her personality in the episode, she seems much lighter in personality by the end of the episode than she did in the beginning. The beginning of the episode, and even episode 4, she's weighed down. She's burdened by some of the things that are happening around her and how she feels about those things.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, she was a child soldier, so she's going to be carrying around trauma and guilt and survivor's guilt and
PTSD.
Yeah.
Lots of it. So yeah, so we start off with this. We see Ahsoka laying on the, she's getting up. We saw her get up from the platform there. She's talking with Anakin, and I'm here to finish your training, Snips. And the fact that he keeps calling her Snips throughout the episode, I'm just like, oh.
Did it tug your little heartstrings?
Oh, very much so. Filoni's really good at that. See episode 7 or season 7, episode 12 of the Clone Wars, and season 4, episode is either 12 or 13 of Rebels, and you'll know exactly what I mean. Have some tissues handy. Right. So Filoni's really good at not only building the lore but building the story, getting the characters involved. Yeah. And I like that we're seeing both sides of Anakin in this. We're seeing his light side being presented. We're also seeing his dark side being presented throughout this. And even before we get to any of the flashbacks, we see it right there on the platform, because here's Anakin standing there in his Jedi Knight robe gear, not his Jedi Master robes that we see him in at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Right.
But we see him in his Jedi Knight garb but with Vader's hilt. That's not
Right.
Anakin's hilt. That's it. I'll have to double check this, but I'm pretty positive that was Vader's hilt, but he ignited it with a blue blade.
Yeah.
So just to show the juxtaposition of good versus evil that Anakin is dealing with, this version of Anakin.
Right. I actually took the combination of elements as, in Kenobi, Vader said that he had killed Anakin Skywalker. Well, here we have Anakin continuing on, having destroyed the Vader part of himself. Still able to tap into the concepts that Vader was, but very much back to being himself rather than the monster.
And I love the fact that, so I read somewhere else that they were very annoyed with the fact that Anakin was back to finish the training of Ahsoka, and I took it more metaphorically. Apparently, this dude took it very seriously. That he was there to finish the training because clearly she had walked away from the Jedi Order. She's a Jedi in loose association and term, not full.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, which is the reason why she has the white sabers, to show that she doesn't have allegiance to either. But yeah, so a couple different places have taken that very seriously, very literally, that Anakin was back to complete her training, and that I didn't think that was the case at all. I took this as her this whole scene that we see of her in the world between worlds was an opportunity for her to purge herself of guilt, to purge herself of some of the feelings that she had about the way things went down in the Clone Wars and the way that she left Anakin and for what Anakin became, because she felt guilt for that, and has expressed that a couple different times. So,
and that's a hard thing to learn. That is something you have to, you need to learn it. Somebody needs to show you how to do it.
right. Yeah. And even, towards the end, with Anakin telling her, you have a choice of life or death. Are you going to live or are you going to die?
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of poignant too, because all these things that she was doing, all these things that she was holding on to, were not healthy things.
Right.
And so I took it as the okay, so yeah, it's not healthy for you to do this. It's not healthy for you to be this way. And if you continue this way, I think it was more of a metaphorical death than an actual death.
Right.
That's the way I took it anyway.
Yeah. In the episode at the end of last week, because Vader's theme played. If you read the subtitles, which everybody who has small children, you have the subtitles on so you can hear your show. I wasn't sure it was actually good Anakin going into this episode. What sold me was...
Yeah, I was worried about that as well.
Yeah, okay. What sold me on it was when Ahsoka said, "I won't fight you." And Anakin's response was, "I've heard that before." It's like, oh, okay. No, this is him. All right, we're good. All right.
Yeah.
Those little details sell it.
I also want to hit on some of the visuals that we see in these flashbacks.
Okay.
So to me, this is one of the bigger parts of this episode, because we're dealing with all the things that the foundation of what got Ahsoka to here. We're talking about the foundational stuff here, because we start off right into the Clone Wars at the War of Geonosis. And we're seeing the clone troopers run past, and this is early stage 1 clone trooper armor. So, it's very early in the Clone Wars, and she's, and just knowing that's all part of what she's going through. But the visuals of her as young Ahsoka, and the visuals, and I'm going to put this up on the screen, because this transition from Anakin to Vader and then back to Anakin was just kind of like, ooh. I think I rewound that like 3 or 4 times, just kept hitting the 10-second back button on my Roku, just kind of like blink. But that one too far.
Still spoilers.
Still spoilers. But that transition just boom, 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 boom. I loved the visuals that Filoni was using in this episode, and how that tied into so many things that we saw during the Clone Wars. And Yeah, and the reasoning and the conversations that he had with Ahsoka, and and basically, and again, chastising her while they're there in this, you basically you're not learning. Back to the beginning. You didn't
Yep.
learn. You
Yeah.
know, so he's trying to teach her how to rid herself of this guilt, and she's not paying attention. He's like, all right, well, back to the beginning. You know,
Right.
and then when he thinks that she hasn't listened, when he ignites the blade again and now it's red because he says, well, you chose poorly and basically time to die.
Right.
And the blade goes red, the eyes go Sith.
Yeah. The facial transition was
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just those little things for me that really went
Right.
like, ooh.
And it's funny. We've watched Clone Wars. It's a great show. But watching these scenes with an actual teenage girl playing Ahsoka, it hit me a lot harder how messed up that situation was
Yeah.
to have this literal child, running
Mhm.
alongside soldiers, getting shot at, holding the hands of dying troops.
Yeah.
Like, this was
Yeah.
her childhood?
Because at first, and I even sent this to you in my notes, one of my original complaints, because I didn't think about that till just now, because one of
Yeah.
my complaints about this episode, and I only had two issues, and they're so very minor that they're almost not even complaints, was that I thought for as many opportunities as we've had where Ashley Eckstein could have been involved somewhere in the Ahsoka series,
Mhm.
I thought because Ashley Eckstein's a little bit smaller than Rosario Dawson, this would have been a great opportunity to have her play young Ahsoka, and then you get Ahsoka's voice, and it would just been
Yeah.
really cool. But you're absolutely right. To have an actual teenager playing the role of teenage Ahsoka, because Ahsoka was only about 14, 15 years old at the start of the Clone Wars. She was
Mhm.
that'd be like my daughter running out there
Yeah.
and having
That's
her,
what I was
you
thinking.
having my daughter run out there with a lightsaber and watching people die and watching these troopers get blown to bits and having to take the lives of all these well, at the beginning it was the Genosans, those were actual living breathing creatures, not the clankers,
Right.
but still having to go out and learn how to be a warrior, to kill and destroy, and all the things that even Anakin says in the episode. I was trained to be a keeper of the peace. I had to train you to be a warrior.
Yeah.
you know um yeah, so yeah, that's a very poignant piece of the episode, I think.
Yeah.
And $10 for using the word poignant properly.
Hey, can you spell it though?
Not even close.
Okay. I blame the public school system.
Oh, there's so much I blame the public school system for. It's not even funny. One other small complaint about this flashback scenario that we
Mhm.
saw. Okay, because I am a Darth Maul fanboy, and I have called this out from the very beginning. I love Darth Maul. He's one of the coolest villains that Star Wars has ever offered. When we saw the Siege of Mandalore, and I'm seeing all the Mandalorians with their Darth Maul helmets on, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, we're gonna get live action. I thought we were gonna get another live action Maul. I thought that we were gonna see Sam Witwer and Maul wear, and I was very stupidly excited for about 30 seconds last night. That
Yeah.
that excitement was quickly
Only 30
dissipated.
seconds?
It was just 30 seconds because it was a very
Okay.
kind of quick spot. Because Anakin's like, well, I don't remember this battle, and then they walked away from it, and then sad.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna get a little more. I'm like, hoo, hoo, hoo. Yeah,
Right.
that was an actual noise I made. Hoo, hoo, hoo.
You make
So
that noise more often than people know. I had
I,
to
I
out a
it
lot.
it happens a lot. I'm not even gonna pretend. Not even gonna pretend. All right, I want to come back to this because I have a question for you later
Okay.
about this.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about some of the other stuff because I need to talk about the other thing to tie it into this thing.
Okay.
There's a thing with the thing with the thing.
And the stuff and the things.
Always there's the stuff with the things and the things with the stuff. So we see that how they found out where she was because Jason Syndulla, Kanan's son,
Yep.
and Hera's son, has abilities as noted by Huyang.
Yes.
And I love the fact that Captain Tavo is just like, all right, cool. So we're going back up in the air then? because the kid said so.
He's just learned to roll with it. Yeah.
It's just like, okay, whatever. But I do like the fact that they're showing that there's a difference in the types of force. Okay, because now when they talked with Sabine, we talked about the living force,
Mm-hmm.
how the living force goes through everybody and is part of, and then there's the force. I can't remember I knew I should have looked this up a little better before I brought it up. But there's two types of force. Anyway, the second force is the force that actually gives you abilities and things like that.
Okay.
Okay. And I love the fact that we're showing Jace Syndulla as having those abilities through the other portion of the force. I have a bad feeling about this. Listen through the water. You can hear the lightsabers, and this is where you're going to find them, and go over here, and, all these different things. So, and the fact that Hu Yang picks up on that and is
Right.
like, yeah, he has abilities.
Right.
So to me, that was kind of cool that they're showing the difference in the force between how Sabine renders the force and how Jason Syndulla will render the force. Although we're not really seeing Sabine render the force just yet. And, she failed at moving the cup. But,
Well, okay, but in the old expanded universe novels, not every Jedi had every power. There were some
correct.
that couldn't move stuff. They had other abilities they were ridiculously good at. But
correct.
So that there's a range there. Just because a fish can't climb a tree doesn't make it stupid.
I don't know about that. No, I'm just kidding. Dumb fish.
Anyway. So maybe they're just testing Sabine wrong.
I mean, that's entirely possible, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. The living force and the cosmic force. All right, there it is.
Thank you.
I just had to look it up real quick. I'm like, I forgot to put it in my notes, and because typically when we talk about the force, we're just like the force. They use the force, but there are definitely two sides of the force. There's Jesus.
For those of you listening at home, and
well, we had to lose John for the rest of the day because he's flashing gang signs over there. No, just kidding.
That was the Vulcan salute.
Gang signs. So typically we talk about the force, like I said, we typically only talk about it in one term as being just the force, not the living force and the cosmic force and the difference between the two. And so I think it's good that we have some notation of showing the differences, because really in Star Wars we really haven't seen that separated before.
Right.
At least not so clearly, not at least that I can remember. Now it may be in the Legends books and in the expanded universe back in the day, but I don't think that anything on film has ever done that.
Not that I remember, no.
So,
I mean, I could go rewatch everything.
So, trust me, I'm working on it. I'm trying. I'm gonna catch up to it. So the other thing too I wanted to mention was the saber fights. I thought that the saber fighting this week was better than what we had seen in the last couple attempts at saber fights, because I felt like in some of the earlier episodes they were just slamming sticks against each other.
Yeah.
It wasn't very well choreographed, wasn't very well done. I thought the Ahsoka and Anakin saber fights were better, much better. So,
which on a certain level makes sense because they would be more familiar with each other.
Right.
They would know better what to anticipate from the other person.
Yeah. So that was just a little quick side note. Now you had mentioned to me that something about you wanted to talk about the New Republic calling in the fleet.
Okay. So last week, Hera's like, we need to send the fleet out. We need to investigate this on this planet. It's a trip out to the rim, sure, but we need to find out. Oh, no, we can't spare those resources. So Hera takes the Ghost, her own ship, and 5 X-Wings. And when they don't answer the phone, the ship, the whole fleet comes looking for them. They made the trip anyway, just like an hour late.
Right.
What the heck?
I thought that was a really good way to show the ineptitude of the New Republic.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because you have a lot of power hungry people in the New Republic. Even I felt like Mon Mothma is a figurehead chancellor, kind of like the
Valorum.
Chancellor. What's that?
Valorum.
Yeah, I was going to say
That
the
one I
Chancellor.
remembered. Okay.
Yeah, the Chancellor at the beginning of Phantom Menace. He's just a figurehead who can't really do anything because all these different people are pulling at them and tugging at them, and you got to do this and you got to do that. Even when we saw Mothma on screen in that last episode, and they're talking about going out and doing the thing that they did in this episode, in the last episode,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was, oh, there's all these other people around her going, oh, I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if we should, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just showing why the Republic doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Why
trying
it
to make
bombed.
too many people happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so inept and there were so many issues, and I thought that was a perfect example.
Yeah, really was.
So any other thoughts on that?
No, it just, I actually paused the show at that moment. Like, they're gonna send them now? Really? The whole fleet? They're not just gonna send one ship. They're gonna send the whole fleet when they couldn't spare the resources an hour ago.
Right.
Yeah. No, like I actually yelled at my TV. You
one
think the wide receiver dropped the ball, but,
right? One of the things I love about Filoni's style of storytelling is that we're going to see this picked up. That ball is going to get picked up later.
Yeah.
And he's going to use that as something else to show, so we saw the ineptitude of the New Republic and the building of the ships, even being able to, fleece out the old Empire people, long live the Empire.
Yeah.
From inside their own ranks, we see the New Republic losing ground, even in how can we do this? Can we do that? And then Mon Mothma can't even keep people from getting rid of one of her best generals. She's like, well, you're sorry, there's not much I can do. You got to come to this trial. And I love how Hera's like, whatever.
Okay. I'm surprised
Yeah,
she didn't leave the galaxy too.
Because that stopped me before. People said I couldn't do something.
I've never rebelled against a government before.
Right. And so the other two things that I wanted to mention is, and even if it was just for a brief second, going back to the Clone Wars thing, Captain Rex.
Yes.
Got to see Captain Rex on screen.
I didn't read the credits. Was that actually Tamara Morrison's voice?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely Tim did that for sure. Now whether or not we're going to see him later on screen in these last couple episodes, helmet off and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. I just knew that from articles that I have both written and read that somewhere we were going to see Tamura involved in Ahsoka. So whether it was just for that one scene and him saying, come on, let's go, or what, but I'm hoping that we get to see more. And I would love to see Tamura Morrison with his helmet off, the hair dyed blonde. I think it'd be funny.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be cool. But yeah, so there was that. I love seeing Captain Rex on screen, and I'm hoping that at some point we'll, I don't think Cody's dead, I believe. So, Commander Cody, I believe
I'd have to look it up.
I'd have to look it up, but I think he's dead. I don't think there's a chance of getting him back. And then the one last thing before we jump back into my question is we saw the Purgles, and that's how how Ahsoka and Huyang are going to jump across the universe into the other galaxy is by the help of the Purgles. She talked with them, and they opened their mouth, and they're just getting a free ride inside a Purgle.
They're pulling a Jonah.
That's right. Nice. Okay. So here's my $1 million question for you.
All right.
Okay. It's a two-part question.
Oh boy.
All right. What we saw with Ahsoka, was it really the world between worlds? Or was it just a near-death experience and coming to terms with her own guilt and grief?
Oh, I'm inclined to think that it really was the world between worlds, because that's a space that doesn't actually exist anywhere. It's sort of under the surface. You could get there from anywhere, theoretically.
Right.
And if the Purgles are jumping from this planet, Cetos, to wherever, there could be some sort of opening there that
Okay.
goes in. It just happens to be underwater.
Okay. Because that was, I've watched the episode 3 times, and that's
Mhm.
the one thing at the end of every episode that when we see Ahsoka, the water kind of rise around Ahsoka, and then
Mhm.
she's floating in the water when she's saved. Is okay. Was this just a near death experience? Like people say when they're dying, they saw the light. Okay, was her seeing the light dealing with Anakin and letting that portion of her grief go?
No, I don't think so this time.
Okay, all right, but yeah,
Just
but
me.
that was my thought though.
Yeah. Okay.
Now here's part 2 of that question.
Yo.
All right, so if it really was the world between worlds, did Jason hear it because it was a shared force vision in a location that is rich with and strong with the force, the living force?
Probably.
Okay,
He could hear it when other people couldn't. I mean, he could hear it before anybody else could because he's more sensitive to those things.
right.
Or maybe it's because children have sharper hearing. They haven't damaged it with decades of engine noises and loud music.
Rock music. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those were my 2 questions about that. I just watched that. I was like, well, if it really was the world between worlds, then how did Jason Syndulla hear it? Because typically the only other experiences with the world between worlds and hearing what's going on inside of the world between worlds is because you were in there.
Right.
But he heard the lightsaber battles.
But wait, didn't Palpatine hear Ahsoka and Ezra in the world between worlds as well?
But he was at a door, but he couldn't get through.
Right. He was at a door. So if there's a door there that you just can't see.
Okay. That makes sense now.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah,
That made sense.
maybe Jason was just on the other side of the door and it wasn't in, but he could hear the things going on the inside, like Palpatine did in the world between worlds during Rebels.
Yeah, that's gonna be my theory.
Okay, I like your theory. I'm gonna go with your theory.
Awesome.
Yay! Look at you formulating theories over there.
Yeah, finally you go with something I come up with.
Woohoo! All right. Any final thoughts on this week's episode?
I'm once again just sad that it's not 9:00 on Tuesday.
I understand that greatly. At 10:01, I was immediately saddened again last night because I had to wait a whole nother week.
This is
Which is good because I would have binged this all in one night had it gotten released.
Well, yes, but then we would have had one show about it, not 8.
Right? No. This is a good thing.
Yeah.
As much as I want the binge, I have a love-hate relationship with the week between.
Yes.
This is my world between worlds.
Yep.
See what I did there?
That's
Anyway,
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
all right. Well, cool. Hey guys, just a couple quick show notes. We're going to wrap this up here real quick. As a reminder, last Friday we had an interview with Stephanie Nadolny, who is the OG voice actor in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z for Kid Gohan and Kid Goku. We talked with her about that. We talked with her about coming to the Monroe Pop Fest in Monroe, Michigan this Friday and Saturday. You'll be able to meet her there in person. Tickets are still on sale for $25 for a VIP ticket. I think it's either 25 or 35. Either way, it's ridiculously cheap and you get some really cool perks and a cool swag bag that comes along with that. And then also this upcoming Friday, you can hear our interview with Jessica Ray, who will also be at Monroe Pop Fest. Now, Jessica played Alyssa on Power Rangers Wild Force, aka the White Tiger. And we talked with her about that, about raising her children, being an entrepreneur, all the things that she's doing these days, along with, Power Rangers and all that kind of stuff. And you can meet Jessica this Friday and Saturday at the Monroe Pop Fest as well, along with me. John and Kathleen won't be able to make it this year. They have prior expectations and things that have to be upheld, promises to young family members that should not be broken.
Yes. I'm not going to disappoint a 10-year-old.
No. I wouldn't want you to. So, but yeah, come on down to the Monroe Pop Fest. Come visit, say hi. You'll be able to meet the fellas from Three Geeks, the PVD cast, and Jessica Ray, Stephanie Nadolny, Danny Jacobs from a couple weeks back, the voice of King Julian from Madagascar. Yeah, you can meet him as well. But in the meantime, be sure to check us out on all the locations. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. We strongly recommend Good Pods if you're wanting to listen to audio, but check us out on YouTube. And if you want to not wait till Friday to hear that Jessica Ray interview, go check us out on Patreon, anywhere from $1 to $40. And there's all kinds of cool perks and things for you there on Patreon. And for as little as 3 whole George Washingtons, you could be listening to that interview with Jessica Ray right here, right now, today. So that's my spiel. Go do the things, guys. You'll have fun with it. John, thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me, Tim.
Always a good time. Always a good time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids and cadets, that's going to do it for the FSF PopCast live at 5. Goodbye.
Bye.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of the FSF Popcast, we want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, please contact us by means of Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FSF Popcast, or go to www.fsfpopcast.com and click on the contact link. Thanks again, and hope you enjoyed the episode.